am so excited that we all got together. We, of course, have Leora Luciano here, Lawyer Moog, aka Michael Mogensen, myself, Britt Madrid. If you guys are on Leora's channel, you don't know me, and Britt Madrid Mogensen. Sorry,
come on,
it's
baby.
just my Instagram. Anyway, I'm so excited that we got together to discuss this latest audio. Leora, woman on the street over here doing the journalistic due diligence. Tell us about how you got this audio, Leora. This is amazing.
Yeah. So, the audio that just came out, we're going to talk about the case. This is in regards to the Lively Wayfarer Studios case. And so basically, there was an audio, I was going to say document, like CD-ROM that was,
very crazy.
Yes. That was made available to the public. Actually, what I should really do is have the evidence in front of me. I can do that. I can go get this CD, but it looks like nothing. It's so nothing. I have a photo of it that I took that I actually sent to you, because basically, so this is in the Southern District in the court in New York, and you just kind of go into this building and they literally take your phone. And so I was going to document it, but I totally forgot about that part. You go through, you kind of get your, go through your, basically your scan, and then they collect any electronic, so headphones, phone. Wow. I think some people were allowed to keep smartwatches, because all that goes on in that building are usually really big cases. So it's judges, attorneys, and jurors usually. And then also you do have media and journalists, and also maybe randomly curious civilians. So that's kind of who's doing business in that building. And so actually what I ended up doing is I wrote down like the full name, the full case title, the proper case, so I could cite it in case I needed to do that to provide for the records room, but they didn't need it. I literally walked in, and what they told me was really interesting, because I think what I was seeing was this recording was released by CD on Friday. And then there were rumors and basically tweets and Reddit threads that said it wasn't available yet. However, when I went into the records room on Monday afternoon, basically they said, oh yeah, there were other people here who have, received the CDs, and they are still available. You will be charged if you want one. It can be yours for the price of $34, but it is also now widely available online. And I have it on my website as well. I released the full audio. I uploaded that. And how I uploaded that from the CD, because I don't have anything that plays CDs anymore. It's a CD-ROM, so it's so it's not just okay. Well, with the exception, I will say with the exception of practicing attorneys, law firms, and probably maybe people in the medical field who might store medical records or imaging. Most people don't have that. I think I was seeing people post like, oh yeah, the new Xbox doesn't even play like my CDs anymore, stuff like that. And I was just like, so I was looking up like into my like closets, digging around for like dead tech, basically. So like old laptops with like a CD-ROM drive, and they wouldn't even turn on. So in preparation for anticipating this, I ordered a drive on Friday through Amazon. And then, of course, it was delayed with everything that was going on. And I ran around looking for a Staples, a FedEx, and all of them have been updated. And there are no CD-ROM drives, except when I went to the New York Public Library.
There we go.
They have
public library, baby.
Public library.
Yeah, they have vintage technology.
This is good.
Yes,
exactly. So that is the condensed version of everything, and it's a long-winded version, but basically I got the file. I listened to the audio. And I know you listened to it, and Michael, you listened to it as well. Yeah. And I feel like, if we're talking about, I don't know, there's something about this case where it feels like it was recent, but also so long ago, because
Right.
the case initially was filed in December of last year of 2024. And between now and then, there's a lot that's been going on. So I tried to kind of keep track of things, but I really need more time to like go through my notes, because there's just been so much that's going on, of course, in the court, right? So you know, as this case, like as this case develops basically, but also in the court of public opinion, if you will, right? So media is a whole other, like, you know, it's just a whole other beast, you know. So I think that's also very interesting to discuss in light of this audio.
100%. I mean, so who do you guys think at this point in time? Let's start with the court of public opinion, because that's a little easier to discuss. We'll gear up for the harder stuff. But who do you guys think is, I guess, winning, we could say, in the court of public opinion?
I'll leave that to y'all, because there's a distinctive winner so far in the case.
Oh, okay. I'm excited to hear that.
But you guys can talk about public opinion. You know better.
I think in the court of public opinion, my vote is that at this point, anyway, Justin Baldoni, because I do feel that more things have been discussed about Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, and their just a lot of different interactions that they've had. Definitely a lot of media has, especially online, has been more geared towards sort of exposing them. And it's just, they haven't been looking good. And then, of course, the alleged rift between Taylor Swift and Blake Lively, all those things kind of have chipped away, I feel like, at her image of being this really kind, nice person, and how their couple was sort of the couple was like on a pedestal, like America's sweethearts for a few years. What do you think, Leora?
Yeah, I think when this first started out, you know, hearing the allegations, I mean, we're talking about sexual harassment, we're talking about, you know, work environments, hostile work environments, we're talking about a variety of different things. And we're just sort of, you know, you kind of get uncomfortable with that, because you're like, oh boy, it's maybe 2024, or once we got to know the case, it was really the beginning of the year. So like early 2025, you're like, this is still going on. What's happening? And, you know, I think a lot of the media coverage on it has shifted now. When I looked at anything that was up today, with the exception of I will say, TMZ, it seems like it's leaning towards Baldoni. So yeah, that's kind of, I think there's been a pivot in media, and in terms of this case. And then, yeah, so I tend to agree with you.
Michael, what do you think as far as the clear legal winner?
Well, so far, Baldoni's team's getting their ass kicked in the legal case. I just did. I mean, and we talked about this when the countersuit came out, when it first was filed. You made me read it.
Yes.
And I went through it. And just for people listening, I do federal lawsuits. I got one right now that's going on, which is just at the beginning portions of discovery. So what happens in a federal lawsuit? One is filed. There's going to be, either has to be a constitutional issue. It has to be diversity jurisdiction, which means all the parties live in different places, and that's the basis for them being in federal court. Or it has to be a federal issue, which there are no federal issues here. This is all, they could have filed this in state court, but they did it in federal court because of the diversity jurisdiction of the parties. So that's how they ended up in federal court. Within the federal court, federal courts usually move a lot faster than state courts. And this particular case, like Leora was just talking about, it seems like we're going, like it's been a while. This is actually really fast. Really? in the life of lawsuits, okay, compared to a state case. So now I don't know if they have a trial date. Do you guys know that off the top of your heads? Like I feel like they do have a trial date.
I thought it was March of 2026, but don't quote me on that. We can Google that.
I think you're right. And so in a case like in complex litigation, and I don't really know that this is complex, just because the only thing it's big money and big name people, but there's not a lot of complex issues in it. that a year plus 3 months, so 15 months, give or take, from filing to trial is pretty fast. The federal case that I have going right now, also, like, it's people from California versus people from Georgia, and anyway, our timeline is just a little bit quicker than this by a handful of months, but we still don't have a trial date, and that's because also in federal courts, the federal courts judges have a lot more power, and what they will do oftentimes, I think because this one has media attention, so much media attention, they've already given them a trial date
of March 9th, by the way.
Okay, but generally in a federal dockets, they'll tell you have there are several cases that are set for trial. They don't tell you, they tell you you're going within a 3 to 4 week period. You don't know what day you're going to trial. And so you have to be ready all the time. And so you will find out on Friday if your trial starts on Monday. So it's really like, it's nerve-wracking because you could have all your people ready, all your witnesses, and then you're like, oh, somebody else went in front of you. So now you got to wait. So it's interesting. They got, probably because of the media, they got their trial date already. But within the discovery, which is what's happening, and these all these things are discovery fights, we have already seen that Baldoni's counterclaim for $400 million it's been thrown out. So really all he's doing right now is defending. And Lively apparently had a couple counts in her petition, and I don't remember how many counts they started with. She voluntarily dismissed a couple of them. So that will happen, and sometimes you overstate your petition. And like, I don't like doing that. But in this particular case, it looks like they filed extra counts, and at some point decided that they weren't going to be able to make those counts. So I think they dismissed voluntarily 2 counts. And so they've streamlined their case. And then shortly thereafter was the motion to dismiss, and Baldoni's got completely thrown out. And so right now, just so everybody understands, Baldoni may be winning the public opinion, and people might know that Lively and Ryan Reynolds by proxy are the people are like, oh, these aren't the people we thought they were. He's not winning the case currently. They're getting handled.
Wow.
And you had me read the counterclaim. I don't remember. We did a podcast about it long ago.
It was a while ago.
But it was garbage. Yeah. Like, reading their allegations was garbage. And I remember saying, this is embarrassing. I even said it on your podcast. I was like, this looks like a tabloid writer wrote this. Like, this is not the work of an attorney who was trying to win this case.
It wasn't even the right language or
right. It was terrible.
Format. It was really weird.
It was embarrassing.
And who wrote that?
Whoever represents Baldoni's team.
From Justin. Okay.
So that was their lawsuit against Lively, and I think
that was dismissed.
And that's been dismissed.
Yeah.
Here in Kansas City, which is where we're located, we've kind of got some of the back end stuff with Baldoni making the claims, trying to embarrass Lively and I guess drum up more attention with Taylor, because Taylor is staying here in town with Trav
in
Leawood, which is right down the street. And it was a person. Well, first off, Baldoni's team tried to beg for more time so that they could try to depose Taylor, or at least threaten to depose her, to extend the discovery closing date. And federal judges hate ever moving that. Once you get the pretrial order, they don't like changing those dates ever. And so they denied it, and they said, you haven't even tried to subpoena her. And it was, I think, 2 or 3 days later that a former police officer from Pittsburgh, Kansas, was hired by his team to try to break into Trav's house and serve her with a deposition subpoena. And her security team caught him in the bushes, and he's been arrested and is being prosecuted in Leawood, Kansas. So that's Baldoni's team. Like, they had a guy break into the compound at 2 a.m,
like into the yard on the private property, not into the house, but on the private property.
That's why I said the
Yeah.
compound. So
Yeah.
where they stay is a place called Hazelwood. It's got security gates. It's got armed security at the front. Within that, the house that Travis bought is formerly owned by another attorney that I know. And so I know it's got its own property, and they were within the property, but not in the house, I guess. But in the compound.
But he jumped a fence to
He
get
jumped
in there.
the fence. He had to dodge the guards.
Mhm.
And then her security team caught him. So like we kind of get some of that back information here. And that that person is currently being prosecuted in Leawood. And he is, I've heard from other people on the Kansas law enforcement that they're going to revoke his license to be a private investigator here. I don't know what other states he might be licensed in, but I guess I should say
allegedly at this moment.
Allegedly.
That's the hearsay. That's the word on the street,
It
guys.
hasn't been done yet, but
The T.
there's a strong possibility that he's going to lose his license to be a PI. He's obviously no longer going to ever be able to be a cop. And all because he thought it was a cool idea to jump the fence for Baldoni. But they're desperate.
That's what that sounds like to me.
I mean, there is desperation all over their part of it. Now, having said that, I don't know that she's going to win anything. And I know before we got on, Leora, you were talking about the possibility that Baldoni's team would move for summary judgment. And like a lot of people don't know what summary judgment is.
Yes, please explain for the rest of us, guys.
So at the close of discovery, once all the evidence has been exchanged between the parties, you look at what the petition is, what it alleges, and if there are no fact disparities, you can make a motion for something called summary judgment, where rather than it actually going to a jury, you say, there are no conflicts. This is the evidence. We've all got the evidence. We've all agreed what the evidence is. And with these, they can't win their case. And that's, in a real small nutshell, what a summary judgment motion is. It's filed in every case. So I'm confident Baldoni's team will file that motion at some point, because if they don't, it's malpractice. But I don't know if they're going to win. If they don't win, then it goes to a jury. If they do win, and maybe the judge is tired of all these people, he could throw it all out, and the whole thing could be over and never get to a jury. So there is that possibility, which would be kind of hilarious, to be honest with you. But so far, legally, Lively's group is winning.
Okay.
Whether that means that'll remain the case is here. We'll find out later.
So I have a legal question. If you can bring it down to earth for those of us like myself who don't even really understand, like, what types of things can you file a lawsuit for and what can you not? Because to me, so I'm reading this from People Magazine, as of January 16th, 2025, this was what was going on around that time period. In the third lawsuit to be filed in the legal saga, Baldoni directly sued Lively as well as Reynolds, Sloan, and her PR company. In his complaint, Baldoni accused Lively of never having read the book upon which the movie is based, and therefore making wrong-headed creative decisions that reflected her fundamental lack of understanding of the book. Baldoni's complaint, let me just finish this one part. Baldoni's complaint claims Lively began asserting her control over the film, inserting herself into the production process in intrusive ways. How can you file a lawsuit for that?
This is one of the reasons why all of that garbage was thrown out.
It sounds like
that is not a cause of action.
Okay, right.
What they could have sued for, perhaps, is if they have a contract that says she is supposed to read the book. Based on the book, we'll make creative decisions. Something along those lines, where there's some language where she has a duty to do something and she has breached that duty, then they would have a cause of action. But this is gobbledygook. Yeah. I mean, I thought that when I read it, when they first filed it, I was like, what are they even, like, this is not real.
It seems more like a disagreement, and then you file a lawsuit.
To me, it seems like a tabloid article, is what it seemed like when I read it.
Interesting.
But that's not a real cause of action, which I'm sure is why the judge dismissed it.
Like, maybe he's more trying to save his career.
Right. It's save face. It's the PR show, I think, is what it is. What was interesting about the recording that you got was listening to the money guy, and I can't think of his name. I'm sorry.
Sorowitz
is
Steve
the way
Steve Sarowitz.
The way he talked about
the co-founder of Wayfarer.
Yeah, spending a lot of money to protect the
studio.
The studio. It sounds like that's what they're doing. Like, I don't know that they care too much about winning the case. I mean, I'm sure Baldoni does, but it sounds like the Sarowitz guy, he wants to protect Wayfair, and like this just seems to me like it's a PR attempt at a defense of a case. Now, maybe that at the end of this, Lively gets tossed out too, which to me I feel like would be loser on loser crime. I think they're both full of beans, since I can't say other words.
Good job.
That took a lot from me.
Good work.
I wanted to ask Michael, because one of the things that I wanted to bring up before we actually get to the recording is this is a recorded phone call, right? So in many states, I feel like this is something that a lot of people don't know. You know, it can, if I called you, like, I don't know, if I called you, would I be able to record without telling you? I'm in the state of New York, and you know, like, there's some, could you speak to that a little bit?
Sure.
Great question.
So, and Britt and I had talked about this because you asked me the same thing earlier in the day, is that generally the rule is, and the rule that in all the states that I'm licensed in, is that as long as one of the people on the call knows you're recording, you can record everything. The only, like, if Leora and Britt are having a call, you guys are talking and I record it, inadmissible. That's illegal. I cannot do that. One of you engaged in the conversation has to know that it's being recorded. So that's why for wiretaps, there have to be warrants, because the two parties talking don't know it's being recorded. And that's the difference. There could be some laws, because I'm not licensed in all 50 states. There could be some laws somewhere where both parties both have to know. But I'm unaware of any of those off the top of my head. So with her knowing that she was recording it and engaged in the conversation, she's legal as far as I know.
Well, and the fact that they put it out there.
Oh, yeah.
Shows.
She's not charged with anything, and nobody's crying about it. I do think she probably shot herself in the foot for future jobs. I mean, it seems very like, if I'm a studio, do you want to talk to somebody who's going to be recording your conversations and then putting it out in the public behind your back? Like, I guess
it depends on how everything shakes out. Like, if it turns out that Blake Lively is vindicated, she wins the case, and this woman's brave actions helped to bring all this about and bring justice, then maybe people will say, well, that was, a great thing that she put herself out there and helped like that. If it turns out that Blake Lively, her case gets dismissed as well, and she's lumped in with all that, then I think it could look bad. It's hard to understand the motivations of everybody still at this point.
That is a true.
It's very confusing.
Very
still.
True statement. Because I guess the story is that the reason she made the recording was that she thought that Mr. Sarowitz was going to pressure her in some regard. You've listened to it. Did you feel that there was any pressure on her from him?
No. So just to go back, just to make sure everybody is caught up. So we're talking about a recorded conversation between Steve Sarowitz, the co-founder of Wayfarer Studios, and Claire Ayub, I believe is her name. And Claire was a witness for Lively's team, if I have that correct. And so she recorded a conversation with Sarowitz, and this is what we've been talking about this whole time, this conversation. So how it's relevant to the case, it was one of those things where when the news broke, it's why I kind of was hesitant about rushing to the courthouse to get it in the first place. And then on Monday I was like, okay, I've got to do it. I've got to get this. And I'm not sure if it's a smoking gun or if it's a whole lot of nothing. Now, I found it very interesting. And I will say from the outset, I think it's more interesting from a a conversation with a very high-powered executive, and also a creative person, and sort of speaks to kind of maybe the industry as a whole. It's a little bit inside baseball in terms of Hollywood, but in terms of the case, I'm just not sure what it was supposed to show. There are fits and starts of things, but I feel like things taken without excerpts or quotes taken without context definitely read different than when you have the context there, as in most cases. So I don't know, Britt, if you had any initial thoughts about this, or if there were some parts that you kind of wanted to dive into.
Well, so when I first, after we spoke, and we kind of talked about it, and you were saying you're going to maybe, go and try to get your hands on a copy. It was very exciting. I was just on YouTube like the next morning, and Kirsty Flaw, who is a journalist, who is actually the person that released the video footage that kind of went viral of Blake Lively saying, like, okay, it was when she was interviewing her, and she was like, congratulations on your little bump. Everybody, I think, remembers that clip. And then Blake Lively said, oh, congratulations on your little bump. And it was kind of a mean girl type of thing, because Blake Lively was pregnant at the time. It was very obvious she was pregnant anyway. So that's Kirsty Flaw. So she puts out a lot of content about Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni. She's following this case very closely. So the next morning I did see that she put out a clip, and it was just a little clip. And in that clip that she had pulled, it's funny because I didn't hear the same thing when I listened to the clip, and maybe I missed it. But in that clip, it felt, and to your point, taken out of context, it felt very different than when I heard the whole conversation. From her clip, I was kind of on Steve Sarowitz's side, if you will, because in the conversation, he was very polite, and he actually said that a lot of people in Hollywood are nice. Like, if you're nice to them, they'll be nice to you. He spoke very, very highly of Scarlett Johansson and her new film coming out that is with Wayfarer Studios. And then he said, Blake Lively, she just didn't really, he said something like she just didn't really get that memo, but it was not even insulting. He really didn't go into it. He didn't say anything terrible about her. And they're in this lawsuit, this situation that I'm sure is incredibly draining. So my takeaway from that was, he sounds like a very balanced individual. Like, that's a very calm way to handle this on a private call with someone that you know well, when clearly you're probably frustrated. So I don't know. And then when I listened to the whole call, I was sort of like, I wonder if Claire Ayub, the woman recording, is just nervous. And that's why she's talking a lot and not really letting him get a word in edgewise. And maybe she actually does feel like he's going to pressure her, and that's her way of dancing around the situation. I was back and forth. I mean, it was just really hard to even get a good read on either of them and really determine, like, what are their motivations and, what's the truth. What about you? What about you guys?
Well, I just want to say, just so we kind of also put it into context, what the whole thing's about. Why is this conversation even relevant to this case between these other people?
What's going on?
So there was a motion filed by Lively's team where within that motion, they made reference to Mr. Sarowitz allegedly making comments that he would spend, and for some reason I've seen a couple different ways. He would spend a lot of money to protect the studio, and it sounded very ominous. And then I think in another clip, which I'm not sure that person was accurate, they said that Sarowitz said, I would spend $100 million to protect the studio.
Wow.
And that wasn't, I didn't hear that. But so that's why this conversation even came about, because that team made these allegations that Sarowitz said something and that they had a recording for. So generally, when you do that in a case like this, when you file the motion, you have to file the exhibits. Once the exhibits are there, unless there's a seal on the exhibits, on the specific exhibits, they become public record. initially my understanding was this was sealed, and so the judge wouldn't have that, wouldn't allow the public to have that. There's also been some talk about the clerks didn't get a hard copy. Well, that's not uncommon. What would have happened, especially if something's under seal, you would send one for an in-camera review, which means in the chambers by the judge. And so that could just be jump drive. It could be anything. They don't have to have a physical copy, but the judge could review it himself. But when it's an exhibit, it's my understanding that obviously Baldoni's team said, well, that's taken out of context. There's a bunch of nice things that are also said in there by the recorder. I can't think of her name again. Claire.
Yeah.
And she did.
And she did. And so
that was surprising too.
So in that regard, it's like I can totally see why Sarowitz and the Baldoni team wanted the whole thing out. And so they were actually, it's my understanding that they were the ones that requested the removal of the seal so that it could be made onto the public docket. Hence, you could go get a copy of it at the courthouse. And in that part of it makes sense, because if you just read the snippets and you're like, oh my God, this thing's under seal. This sounds so terrible. And look at these statements that were made. Blah, blah, blah. But when you hear it all together, the guy really, like, it's an 18-minute and 48-second conversation, and he makes handful of statements. Most of it has nothing to do with the case, the conversation. And there are a handful of statements, that are caught in there. And when you hear him, you're not like, he's not it's not an ominous tone. He's not threatening. Now he makes comments that 2 people will be dead, which I thought initially was interesting.
And then he clarifies,
so it goes,
not literally
dead to me.
Yes.
So like
a figure of speech.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, that sounded bad for a minute. And if you'd have read that, if they'd have put that quote in there, oh my God, there'll be 2 people dead. And you only read that in motion. Oh, it's smoking gun. So it's very interesting. But
one more thing that I have here about Claire, just to add another layer of context, because her response and her even, the way she complimented Justin Baldoni and kind of joined in with Steve Sarowitz for a second. There is also a possibility, I think, that could be the fawn response. There are like different trauma responses that people have. And the reason I think it could possibly be the fawn response of her just sort of trying to make things better and just sort of move through it is because in September of 2025, she made a declaration where she said that she'd endured repeated negative interactions and verbal abuse from Baldoni when they worked on Empire Waste. And that's why she reported the call. So if she had really been through a lot, maybe she was feeling very uncomfortable, very threatened, and was trying to just appease and get through the situation.
I know I was going to ask you.
Not uncommon for people to do.
Leora, when you picked up the discovery, did it have a date for the date of the phone call? Because that's another thing that's interesting.
The date of the phone call is in the file name, and I believe that was let me make sure I have that. I'm just going to go back to, I also made a transcript on my site, so it's all there so that I can do this and not have to look it up every 2 seconds. It is, let me see, when did it happen? I believe that was August 29th of 2024.
Right. So that's what I thought. Because in the conversation, there's reference to August. It's August. It's August. She says it multiple times.
It's summer. Yeah, it was dead. Like it's a slow month. Yeah.
Well, it's very interesting to me that there is a September 2025 declaration saying that she endured these things before the conversation happened. Like, because she doesn't talk anything bad about Baldoni. And so if I'm defending the case, if I'm on Baldoni's team, that's fertile ground to contradict her own statement with her own voice and her recording.
Yeah.
And a recording that she made.
Yeah, I could see that. But also to your point, Britt, I could also see that as somebody who, if her issue was with Baldoni herself, and kind of just wanting to keep things sort of like calm and make sure, whatever her objective was, just to kind of keep things cool and, like maybe not necessarily like address anything directly, because if you listen and read all of the conversation, the transcript and the audio file, there she is talking quite a lot, and I'm not sure if it is based on nervousness or maybe she just is long-winded. But yeah, I could see that as a reaction, I could see that sort of fawn response as well. So that's another great point. I mean,
there was definitely something.
There was
many different ways to look at it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one of the really important things as a litigator, to the difference between a transcript and actually getting to see, like in a video deposition or the video, or in this case, you don't get to see it, but you get to hear it, because the inflections in her voice, the pattern in her speech, the way she speaks, they're not just the words that you would read on the paper that would have no context. But when you hear her, to me, she sounded extremely nervous, which could be because she was worried, or she was worried that she was going to be pressured. Could be that she was worried she was recording it and she felt funny about it because she hasn't told him. I mean, there's a lot of twists and turns in there. It's interesting. What's cool for me as a litigator is that you guys are getting to see some of what I have to deal with all the time, and how it can be very tedious and it's very detailed. And these things that, like, this could be nothing, a big nothing burger, or it could be very big. And it's all how the case comes about. So for me, it's kind of fun. It's fun to be here with you guys and talk about it, hear your perspectives, because this is my world. And so it's like,
it's very stressful too, because it's like, I mean, it's definitely fun for us on the outside looking in to just kind of hear the conversations and listen and try to put the pieces together. It's like a puzzle. But when you really get into it, and, when you look at the list of who filed this, and then this was filed, it's such high stakes, and there's so much going on that it's just, oh my gosh, I do not envy the judge who is in charge of trying to pick through this and make the best possible, judgment, because there's a lot going on from both sides. It's a lot of information and a lot of accusations. And
one of the cool things about federal judges, though, is they have lots of law clerks. So they're the ones that are actually doing all the reading and
so they like present
research.
It to me.
Yeah, they're doing all the heavy lifting on the discovery issues and stuff like that. But it's fun. It's fun for me, for you guys to get to see it and kind of experience the exact same stuff I was doing today all day long on my federal case.
Leora, what was your reaction when you first listened to it, and then has that changed at all, or how do you interpret this?
I listened to it actually several times now, and I think initially I was confused. I was like, what am I listening to, and why am I listening to this? What does this have to do with anything? But I think we've been discussing the relevance of it and how it's connected to the case, how it connects to the case, why it's relevant for for each, or how it could impact kind of each side, I think. But I think listening to it, I just try to kind of understand where people are coming from, looking at the timeline, because we're looking at a timeline of, even though it feels like it's been going on, to Michael's point, this is fast moving, and there is a March 9th trial date. So if they don't have this wrapped up before then, it goes to trial, and there's jury selection, there's a whole thing, there's a media circus that gets attached to that as well. And we've seen that, especially here in New York, how crazy and how for these high profile cases, how intensely they're covered. So it really brings on, it becomes its own vortex, if you will, from a legal standpoint, to everything that Michael was saying before. But then, Britt, all of the things that you brought up too, it's like, from the pop culture perspective, and also just kind of understanding, like, the thought process behind, statements that are made or decisions that are made, or, so it's very interesting. So I was kind of trying to listen to it from a little bit more of a strategic and legal perspective, and, kind of understand who this is going to help. But at the same time, I was just really fascinated by listening to someone talk about someone who, Claire, who has a movie and is a director, producer, creator, and just kind of talk to somebody, about working together on future projects and marketing, and kind of talking to an executive that may or may not be interested in anything other than the bottom line at the end of the day. So I thought that was sort of an eye-opening conversation in that sense as well, from sort of a business perspective.
Agreed.
But in terms of shifting my perspective, or I don't know, giving me clarity on anything, not really.
No, we're more confused than ever.
Agreed.
We have no idea what's going on here.
I mean, well, we know what's going on. It's
Well,
just
with Justin versus Blake, it's like,
I think you guys are dead on it with the pop culture part. I mean, I don't think it's good for any of them. I think I think all of them are going to, at the end, when this is all over, whenever that is, because if one of them, if they actually go to trial and one of them loses, they're going to appeal it. It's going to go on for a long time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But even whoever comes up winning is still going to lose. I think, like, who's going to want to work with these people?
It's done irreparable damage to
both.
Like, regardless of what the truth is, because we don't know what exactly happened and what the motivations were for any of this. But definitely it's created a lot of negative buzz around both of them. And some people say, oh, all press is good press. I don't know about this case. This is not one of those instances. This might be an outlier.
This is more like you're revealing who the true people are on the inside. And it doesn't appear to be very pretty.
It doesn't.
And
to your point, we have gotten to see some like inside baseball information. I remember when things first started happening and some of those emails came out about the way that Justin Baldoni and his PR team were talking about Blake Lively. And it came across very harsh, very cutthroat. I mean, it was ugly. It was like, oh, wow, that's how, because you kind of think, and people say, oh, Hollywood's so cutthroat and this and that. But then when you see it, you see an email, you read that and you're like, this is really just kind of nasty. Like they're really trying to go after somebody and they're talking about it openly. And so even seeing that, it gives you kind of a negative perception as, a member of the public, someone consuming these movies and things. It just kind of takes the shiny veneer off of everybody.
Well, and I'm a cinephile. Like, I love movies.
He loves movies.
Love movies.
So, Leora, I feel like you watch a lot of like movies and TV shows when the Oscars come around. Like, you always like know what's what. Mm-hmm. You guys are the same that way.
My perspective, just as a person, I'm not in a legal sense, is I don't want to support any of these people. I don't want to go to Ryan Reynolds movies. I don't want to go to Blake Lively.
And you used to love like Deadpool.
I thought
he loves Ryan Reynolds.
I do not like superhero movies, but I thought those were hilarious. But
it kind of put a bad.
I don't really know Blake Lively movies. I don't know Baldoni movies either.
It kind of gave you a negative perception.
But now I'll be looking to see if this Sarowitz guy. I don't want to go to those people's movies.
Really?
It's just like,
yeah. So it's really
well.
The imagery.
Yeah, well then I have to ask you, so It Ends With Us was based on Colleen Hoover's book, and she has a new movie coming out too. So I don't know if that's tainted your opinion, but the movie that she has coming out is called Reminders of Him, and that's based on one of her books as well. And actually she has pulled out of promotional events for this film, even though it has it's not Blake, and Blake Lively is not involved, and it's completely separate. But now she claims she has unavoidable surgeries, but whatever that means. I hope she does well, but yeah, it's one of those things where the tail end of this, it just kind of is going to continue to go on for quite a bit.
And I do feel like even seeing those emails and now blind items are really popular as well. And I talk about those a lot when I pull the tarot cards and we have fun with all of the entertainment stuff. But when you were just talking about Colleen Hoover and her surgery and everything. Now, typically my first thought normally would be like, oh my gosh, I hope she's okay. But I really feel like because of the way that our culture is shifting and the way that we're starting to see more behind the scenes and the negative dark side of things and the blind items and all this stuff, my first reaction was actually, oh, I think that's a lie. I don't believe that. So, well, I'm just saying it's really changing. Like culturally, there's this shift where we're just starting to get more cynical about what's really going on here. And I think that this It Ends With Us case was it really contributed to that a lot. I'm telling you, I used to think that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were just the cutest, most adorable couple. I was like, oh, they're both so like attractive and they just seem like they love each other so much. And they have these cute jokes they're always doing. And then seeing this and the way that it's like, oh my gosh, it was kind of shocking.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show, don't judge a book by its cover.
And
there's just people at the end of the day as well.
That's
right?
exactly what I was going to say.
People are people.
It just shows that they're people.
Exactly.
We're all flawed.
Yeah.
We're all flawed. That's just that. I'm going to leave it at that.
What are you going to say?
God knows I am.
Yeah. We all are.
Even Hollywood people are flawed too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I don't know if you guys are going to keep going. I feel like it's been really fun for me just to experience this. Like, and I could say, and I got to go watch a dog here because
our dog's getting mad.
He's like,
and you may think Sunny is perfect, but he does have his flaws. Our dog. What? Any other thoughts, Laura, or anything that you wanted to discuss that we didn't touch on yet?
I don't think so. I don't think there was anything because, like I said, there was no real smoking gun or gotcha moment, with the audio. So, I encourage everybody to listen. It's public record. So if you are at all interested in this case, listen for yourself, listen to the whole thing, read through the transcript. I have it on my website. You can kind of play it and read along at the same time to see what jumps out at you. But I think everybody should, if they're interested, come to their own conclusions as well and see what they take from it.
Hey,
yes.
We really appreciate you going and getting it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we had that conversation, and I'm proud of you too.
I texted Michael. I was like, she did it. She got
it. Well, and I was like trying to like pump, like when she was telling me that you might go, I was like, go do it. I have to do that all the time. I was like,
Michael's all excited. He was like, he wanted to go get it.
I was like, tell her we'll send her a jump drive. We'll put you in for half the cost because sometimes they'll charge you for the time it takes to make the discs.
Yes. So yeah, what they told me was, I think, I'm hearing lots of different things as I was listening to, other people report on it. Yeah. Yeah. So
you actually had the hands of one of their legal teams on it. Because
should I dust it for fingerprints?
Yeah, you can find out.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because they
Lively's artifact. You got to keep it.
Lively's team actually produced the hard copy, so you didn't even have to bring your own CD, did you?
No. And actually, what they told me is, I think I was the fifth CD that they gave out for free of no charge. The rest, they would be charging $34, which is their fee for, CDs, I guess. I didn't know they had a set fee for that, but
usually they'll charge you a cost for the media and a cost for the time. So like we're used to, I mean, I do it all the time. So we're used to So I was like, tell her if there's a cost, tell her we'll help split it with her. So anyway, I'm very, very proud of you for going and doing that. That's awesome. Because it's not
Me too.
like it's not a normal thing for people to have to go to the courthouse and feel like it's pretty invasive. They take your property, you have to check your phone in unless you're an attorney, and so it's like, oh my God, this is different. Anyway, I'm really proud of you. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I wrote the case on a I usually try to keep a pen on me, but paper. Thankfully, I had a long CVS receipt that I was able to pull out just in case I needed that. So I wrote it down so that I just was, in case they needed the, specific reference or any information. But as soon as I said Lively Wayfarer, they knew exactly what I was talking about, and they were so nice. I mean, that's the nice thing about federal court. The clerks were super helpful. To your point, Michael, the clerks are incredible there. So are the judges,
awesome.
But
awesome.
Yeah.
It's very rarely will you ever find a clerk that's not awesome to deal with. Like they're very obviously good at their jobs, but they're really the ones that keep the whole wheels of justice turning, to be honest with you.
Shout out to the clerks then.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Laura. This was fun. I'm glad we all got to just share our thoughts and kind of look at it together. And I guess we'll just keep watching this case and see what happens as we get closer to March 9th.
Oh yeah, say awesome. We've only got 5 months till the trial. That's
only 5 months.
That's pretty quick.
Plenty more speculation. Plenty more time to speculate.
And who knows? Like, it might get thrown out. Like, it would not surprise me if this thing gets thrown out.
Mm-hmm.
And it really would surprise me if Lively actually wins money. Because I think even if they were to find that she wins, I have a feeling that a jury would say like a $1 deal or something like that.
Yeah.
But who knows? Long way to go. It'll be fun to
Long way to go.
Mm-hmm. Long way to go. All right. Okay.